The Looking Glass of Broken Shards. Short fiction. Dear Vincent, some time ago I was contacted by a Richard Hardy, an archivist from Sydney, regarding an old mirror that had been uncovered in the collection of Sir Philip Wilton. It was in crates, unopened since the 1920s. It was among things Wilton had imported from Seattle at that time. Why this material had been neglected for so long is unclear, but it was in a warehouse, archival space rented by the University of New South Wales. Hardy contacted me via Mrs. Jaspers, supposing I might know more about the mirror. Indeed I do, but as soon as I drove to Sydney and saw it, I recognised it as a fake or a duplicate, an exact copy of another mirror. This opens certain legal situations to which you, as my solicitor, should be apprised. As for the mirror itself, it is some 34 inches by 21, was evidently made in the 1920s or earlier, like the original, has an ornate silver-plated frame and is in good condition. It remains in the estate of Sir Philip Wilton. I say good condition, but at some point in its existence, it, like the original, has been broken or smashed, shattered into exactly 121 pieces. And the mirror, as it is now, and before it was imported, and since early in its history, has been reassembled, reconstructed from those shards. The joins are visible like a web, but the surface is nevertheless even, and the reassembly with adhesives has been well done. It is from the web of joins, however, that I am able to detect a fatal flaw and determine that the mirror is not an original. It is a very good copy. The original, I know, had a certain pattern. It had shattered in a certain way, and the pattern had eluded the maker of this counterfeit. Accordingly, I would value the Wilton mirror at perhaps $1,000 or so as an antique, but it is worth more as a curiosity, although only a very small circle of people might appreciate it. Let us say that it is a magic mirror, or purports to be, and purports to be a particular magic mirror that is in the possession of a particular circle of people, and has been since the 1920s or earlier. Concerning this circle of people, I have a store of documents. Copies of those documents are in a safe box. I will send you in a separate correspondence the codes for the safe box for your keeping. The mirror, the real mirror, has no special name, but is often referred to in this circle as the Looking Glass, in order to distinguish it from ordinary mirrors. I do not know its origins, no one does, but it is magical in the sense it is accorded certain powers and is tended in a certain way, and is a ritual object in occult contexts. There is a state known as occultation, but let us call it the paradoxical state. When an adept, if you will, achieves the paradoxical state, it takes the form of being both in the world and absent from it at the same time. How is this possible? It is possible only as a paradox. The adept moves into a paradoxical condition. It is just a simple shift to perception, in fact, but it confers the power of occultation, the paradoxical state. It's not an uncommon experience for someone who is looking in a mirror, looking in a looking glass, to see in a glimpse some figure standing behind them, but when they turn around there is of course no one there. It's probably never happened to you, Vincent. You are far too sensible for that, which is why I employ you as my solicitor. You are not given to seeing things in mirrors, and I admire your ability to distinguish the true from the spurious, the real from the reflection in all things. You'll have to exercise your powers of discernment regarding my account. The charisma of occultation occurs because ordinary, everyday vision experiences the paradoxical state as anomalous. In truth, there's nothing amiss. There is nothing supernatural and nothing out of the ordinary. But it appears to our immediate consciousness as a peculiarity. It seems as if the adept has attained magical powers and defies the laws of time and space. For a start, the adept often appears to have completely vanished from the world. Often this can take the form of entire memories being reformed in the adept circles such that we might wonder if they had ever lived at all. They become in effect mythic, and the mythos can penetrate deep into their family and friends and associates. Memories disappear, not in one individual but in groups and social circles. The adept becomes less known. The very fabric of reality may change to accommodate this shift. For instance, the adept's image may disappear from old photographs, and when asked about the occasion, the others present can no longer remember him being there. It's quite possible, Vincent, for you to have been visited by people, engaged with them, but now have no recollection of them at all. They reappear, though, the occluded, where and when they choose, for they are engaged in the world and seek certain things, although when they reappear they are, in a sense, both within and outside the world. The notion of occultation is a fixture in some spiritual economies and is well understood. The pious peasant family will set an extra plate at the table in case one of the occluded, Elijah or Enoch or others, should visit as himself or disguised as a stranger. This particular power and its accompanying charismas, the appearance of being in several locations simultaneously is one of them, are not unusual in the least. Folklore abounds with cases. Occultation is widely known and understood to be a spiritual or existential state enjoyed by adepts and the blessed. In fact, as a reality, it exists today in the most modern of contexts, and it is only because of inattention and forgetfulness that ordinary people fail to recognise instances of it. A man at the bus stop, or a person in a cafe, or a stranger in a crowd. Some may be occluded individuals, but we fail to notice the signs. We do notice the psychotics, the failed initiates, as it were. Occultation is an interrealm. It might otherwise be called by some a realm of shadows, because shadows, like mirror images, serve to remind us of its existence. Dreams, moreover, are like shadows cast on the inner screen of the mind. It is a mysterious matter, to be sure, because the profane mentality cannot grasp a world that is in between our conventional layers of reality, and so both is and is not at the same time. It is a confounding thing. It eludes every category of rational and linear understanding, but it is not sub-rational. It is merely that the rational processes of the mind are, in the first instance, an obstacle to its realization. These are matters germane to the documents in the safe box, Vincent. How you might argue it in law, if the occasion ever arises, is your problem. Regarding this Mrs. Jaspers, who supplied my name to Hardy, she is an old woman who works in the secretariat at the university, or who did once, and I only met her one time. It was a strange encounter. First she booked an appointment with me under a pretext, and when she arrived at my office she had the appearance of having been drenched in the rain. Her coat was wet, her shoes sodden, her hair matted down, her face pink. I looked out the window. It was a clear morning. Then she said to me, when I asked her business, just one question. What do you know about Audrey Moran? Audrey Moran doesn't exist, I told her. She laughed immoderately at this and then said, "Ah, yes, you and I know that, but does Audrey Moran?" You will find, Vincent, that the documents in the safe box are replete with this name, Audrey Moran. The natural prototype for occultation is the star Sirius or Sothis. There is a period every year where it is occluded. It disappears into the glare of the sun. It is still there. We know it is still there, but it can no longer be seen until it re-emerges and reappears 71 days later. It is the brightest star in the sky. For a period, it both is and isn't there. Were an eclipse to occur in that period, we would see that it is there, hidden, occluded. When Hardy showed me the Wilton mirror, my first question was whether it had any wrapping. He told me it didn't. This is the first thing that raised my suspicions, because the looking glass, the true one, is inseparable from its wrapping, which is a large square of black silk. In its inert or nascent state, the mirror is wrapped always in this black silk. The operations of the mirror involve wrapping and unwrapping it, concealing and revealing at certain times. It is charged in this way, magically speaking. Primarily, it is the custom to unwrap it daily for the hours that Sothis is in the sky, and to wrap it in black silk again when Sothis sets and is no longer visible. In the case of the original Vincent, this ritual has been maintained on and off for nearly a century by the owner of the looking glass and by that certain circle of people. The looking glass is in tune with the cycles of Sirius. There was no sign that the mirror found in Sydney, imported from Seattle, had been subject to the same operation. Had it been charged daily, wrapped and unwrapped for 100 years, it would acquire special virtues, or at least be worth a lot of money, just as a bonsai can cost thousands, because someone tended it, watered it daily for decades. The Wilton mirror is a very good copy, but I would say it has not been charged. It is not magical. I acquired my acquaintance with the original when I met a woman at a business conference in Seattle. It was 14 years ago. Her name, she told me, was Audrey Moran, an attractive Irish woman with wild red hair and sharp, flitting blue eyes. She seduced me and we had a torrid affair, until I found that her name was not Audrey Moran. In fact, Audrey Moran is not a legal entity in any jurisdiction whatsoever. Confronting her about what I thought was some romantic deception, this woman wanted me to believe she was in fact some form of succubi or wanton spirit. The day after that, she disappeared, gone. But I found in a drawer some papers, to wit, those which I have copies in the safe box. They are documents concerning a network of connections. The information in the documents is not supposed to be on this side of the mirror. As for the mirror, it was always there, uncovered, and it was witness to our torrid affair. These days a man might worry about hidden cameras. Miss Moran had her mirror, the looking glass. It was unusual, and the reassembled surface caught light in slight deviations, and I remarked upon it. She told me it was 100 years old. Where did you get it? I wondered. I've always had it, she said. As it happened, Vincent, it occurred to me the woman had a harmless fetish for exhibiting herself and her love-making in a mirror, and yet this mirror, because it had been shattered and reassembled, I think, took a portion of my attention. It was the sensation of being watched, but by eyes looking out from a web of broken shards. Do you believe in doppelgangers, Vincent? I would have said I didn't until one day, this was in Seattle too, I saw a man who was a mirror image of you. I genuinely had the thought, what is Vincent doing in Seattle? The same belly, the same suit, the same wrinkles on the forehead. He was a lawyer too. I actually followed him. I was so struck by the likeness. But his name was Stephen something, corporate law. The similarities ended there. I think I may have told you about that incident before. They say of doppelgangers that everyone has their double. Miss Moran talked about doppelgangers. There is another theory that for each of us there is a prototype, a type of platonic form, if you like, and then between the form and ourselves, between the immortal prototype and the mortal representation, there are reflections, copies of copies. Where do they reside? On Sothis, the twin of our sun, Sothis, the double star whose twin is hidden. According to some heresies, Vincent, it was not Christ who was taken to the cross, but a doppelganger, a look-alike, the evil twin. In the magic of Audrey Moran, she takes her lovers to the mirror. The sun and moon overlap. But she herself was just a reflection, as I discovered. Her passport was empty. Who are you, Audrey? I asked her. She went to the looking glass and ran her fingers over the surface to feel the cracks. Sometimes, she said, where the mirror has been repaired, there are slight shifts of perception. Once again, Vincent, the documents in the safe box are not supposed to be on this side of the mirror. When I was first contacted by Hardy, I did entertain that the Wilton mirror might be authentic, even though it had been stored in crates for the better part of a century. How could it therefore be the mirror in the bedroom of Audrey Moran? For the same reason, Vincent, there is no such person as Audrey Moran, even though I was the man in her mirror, and even though I stole documents and papers from her. First, old Mrs. Jaspers came to see me. That was the first time I had heard the name Audrey Moran for a decade. I knew they would find me. And as I drove to Sydney, I was expecting that Hardy and the archivist had found the looking glass, or that the looking glass had found me. Instead, it's a fake, an imitation. It's a doppelganger, an identical twin, and only my keen eye could detect the variation in the patterns of the 121 shards. Which raises the question, what is this imitation, this replica, and what does it mean? Sir Philip purchased it apparently in Seattle. As I say, Vincent, I was in Seattle. I had business in Seattle back then. Seattle is where I saw the looking glass, and where the looking glass saw me. Hardy knows nothing of this at all. He's only chasing the provenance and backstory of the object, an evaluation of its worth. I told him it was a copy of a far more valuable original from the same period. All copies have blemishes. The look-alike of you I followed turned out to be quite unlike you. But unless I followed you, I would never have known that. I might have sworn it was you I saw. He had your walk. If you find the true looking glass of broken shards and you stare into it long enough, you'll see Audrey Moran and her wild red hair watching herself dance naked. I write to you now, Vincent, because things are stirring.